live right now in a minute. Let's check if it is. Yes, we are. Hello, students. Welcome to one very different session that we have today with our expert, Rohan Chaubey. Now, when I say this, I am so grateful and honored to introduce him to you today in this very special session of growth hacking and digital marketing. Now, when I say this, majority of you might be having in your brains about hacking as the illegal one. And I trust me, Rohan, I've been getting questions on this since yesterday. And before that, if I have to introduce myself, this is educator Dhwani Gandhi here, a verified plus educator on the Unacademy platform since the last 3 years. And I've been taking up for class 11th and 12th commerce accountancy. Students right now, Rohan, are here from class 9th and 10th, CBSE and Academy Commerce Channel, and CBSE and Academy class 11th and 12th Science as well. So we welcome all the students here as well as Rohan, who is such a super hit guy, if I have to say in the normal kiddish language, because he is one of India's most followed growth hacking expert when it comes on Twitter. He is also having a very phenomenal best-selling book to his name, and he will be telling you more about it while he'll be going through the session. Also, there are so many things that he is holding to his own self. Rohan, I welcome you to this session, and I really would want you to introduce yourself in a way that the kids would want to know you exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited. Just to share a little bit about me, I've been the best-selling author of 2 books, that is the Growth Hacking Book 1 and 2. I actually have it here. This is the first one, and this is the second one. I'm one of the founding members of the International Growth Hacking Day. And since the last 4-5 years, I've been working with startups all across the world to essentially hack their growth. And in this session, I'm super excited to share with the students, the aspiring digital marketers and growth hackers, how they could, adopt this career path and what would be the learning curve.
You just mentioned about career, and I am so honored to have you here. The entire Unacademy team is right now watching up this session because somewhere I believe everyone wants to grow. In a way, growth has different definition for each and every person. Success has a different definition as well. But what stays is growth. The terminology is different for each and every person, but Rohan, you have helped so many startups achieve it. I mean, there are so many names I can right now, just point out to all you students. He has been working with UNESCO, Uber, Red Bull, Kalyan Jewelers, Congress, BJP, and so many big shot names. But when it comes to growth hacking, students have a very different misconception. Rohan, first and foremost, I would want you to address to these students what exactly growth hacking is and what digital marketing is and what it is relevant in this current times.
Right. I think one of the most amazing thing that has happened since the pandemic has begun is all of us have been adapting to doing everything via the digital platforms and channels. So be it, our own colleges, taking online classes. We always, like, as a kid, we always dreamt of, work, studying from home and having to do classes online, and it has actually turned out to be true. Last year I gave my engineering exams online, and I never thought that our board exams would be online. Similarly, I think now the CBSE and other 10th and 12th exams have been postponed, and perhaps they would do something online as well. We never know. So it's incredible, and not just in the education sector, but also just generally all of our shopping and even getting the essentials. Something as simple as getting veggies. We have been having apps now. So what's important to understand is digital is here to stay. And what these companies essentially are now going to use to grow their businesses is digital marketing. So if I have to explain digital marketing is in really simple way, it would be just utilizing internet or digital platforms to market your products or services. It could be anything, be it any sector, whether an app or a web application, or as simple as some service like tutoring. Similarly, on the flip side, growth hacking is beyond what digital marketing is. So you can consider digital marketing as a subset of growth hacking or a part of growth hacking. So to understand it better, I would say that think of it as when you were in 10th or 12th grade, you would go to the science lab and mix some chemicals, and there would be altogether a different equation coming out of it. Similarly, what we do as growth hackers is we conduct marketing experiments, and these experiments, even we are unsure of what the outcome would be. We just have an hypothesis that, okay, let's try to do this and see what happens. So you're essentially just experimenting how you would experiment in your science labs, and trying to see, if that marketing works for your product or service. Sometimes you would experiment based on the digital channels. It could be social media channels or Google searches, sorry, search engines, or it could be within your product itself. Just to give you an example how it would be within the product. So all of you might have used Google Pay during the pandemic to so as to avoid exchanging physical currency instead of paying it digitally. So what happens in Google Pay is, if you invite your friends and family, you are incentivized with certain monetary rewards. So what is Google Pay doing here is that they have created a system, a referral system in their product, in order to gain more users on their application. So if that makes sense, that's what you could do on the product side. So yeah, this is the like the simplest way to put it together. What is digital marketing growth hacking?
So, in basic terminologies, if I have to say, it is somewhere near trial and error mechanism that it works
Absolutely.
on. Very beautiful. But then, Rohan, as you just mentioned that you completed your engineering last year, that would make me assume that you're quite young in this field. And being young doesn't mean that your experience is anywhere less. People often think that for someone to be an expert in any field, they have to slog in for years 10, 15, 20, probably. But then you have proved it that it is not about the age factor. Having said that, what was your age when you started and when you entered into this field?
I think, yeah, you raised a good point. I think the new economy doesn't care about the resumes, the degrees, or the curriculum confined knowledge. Of course, those are good things, and those are good stuff, and we have all gone through it. But I think the next generation of jobs and businesses are validated by how much credibility you hold in a particular niche, and how well known are you for your work. So essentially, when I was 16, I started blogging out of just curiosity. I just had, so I was always a quiet child, and I wanted to just be expressive about whatever I was learning at school. So I started blogging, and learned ways to drive traffic to the website, and SEO and social media. Everything started coming in. I never even had a Facebook account. The reason I created my Facebook account was to promote my blogs. Seeing that, I found someone on my Facebook that invited me to write for Huffington Post, which is a media publication in the US. And I never knew that, by simply writing my thoughts on the internet, you could be invited to be a columnist at a media publication, that too, Huffington Post, that is like the biggest in the US. And then from there, one San Francisco based startup came across my column, and then they invited me for holding a position in marketing in their startup. and I ended up working with them for 2 years. And that's where I got to know that the founder of the startup calls himself a growth hacker. And then I got curious again and I started searching what is growth hacking. And through years of research, I guess about 3 years, I was just learning. And then I wrote my first book, The Growth Hacking Book 1. And then the next year, I wrote my second book, The Growth Hacking Book 2. And then this year in July, I plan to write The Growth Hacking Book 3. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to learn things as I get to know, and I'm publishing in my books along with my friends as well. I mean, the peers in my industry. And what's interesting is that this is um, timeless information. That means things will come and go and trends will come and go, but the principles behind growing startups and businesses online would remain the same. These are timeless principles. So yeah, that's how I started and got into this.
So all I can say is right now, all the teenagers watching you, you are surely an inspiration for all of them because you started at their age exactly. If I can say, 16 is something just 10th passed out, and by the time you could write your books, I assume you must be in your first or second year somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was in engineering second year.
Yeah, I can understand that because I second the same phase along with you. And if probably I would be in the same field of engineering, I would be a recent pass out. Now, having said that, the kids have a lot many questions when it relates to growth hacking and digital marketing. So first and foremost, I would want to ask you more further in depth about it. That what educational qualifications do they need when it comes to this field? Because it is not anything ordinary. It's not being a doctor or an engineer. It's not about being a CA, CS, CMA, anything that way. It's a complete different field. So I would want you to address that and what are the requirements in particular that a person would need to have the job profiles like that of a growth hacker and digital marketer.
So what happens is, let's say if I'm pursuing CA, or I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I would have like a defined curriculum to follow, and then things are going to be almost remain same. I mean, of course, they will change, but not at a drastic pace. On the flip side, what happens with digital marketing and growth hacking is that things are always changing. So let's imagine that you learned to run paid ads on Facebook and Instagram today, and this institute taught you. And then what happens tomorrow is Facebook starts to roll out another form of ads that is within the Instagram reels, and that the institute is not going to call you back again and say that, hey, there was an update on Facebook, come back again and learn the course, right? So it's so fast paced that you take a course today and tomorrow it's of no use. Or maybe the principles will stay with you, but everything would have changed until you pass out from there. So the only thing here is to stay curious. The more you could question yourself and things around you, the more better you could learn. Uh, since you asked what are the qualifications and the skills, what I would say is I coined a term and trademarked it. It's called growth set. The formula for growth set is skill set, mindset, and tool set. I mean, skill set plus mindset plus tool set. It's taken from my book. And then how do we define skill sets for a digital marketer growth hacker is skill set could include copywriting, SEO, content writing, content marketing, email marketing, marketing automation, social media. Similarly, on the mindset side, we would have something like behavioral psychology, or trying to be more resourceful, how you could conduct these experiments using minimum resources. So when I say resources, it is essentially the less number of team members you could use, the less money you could invest, and the faster you could get results. And then and lastly, it would be data driven experimentation. So everything that you do has to have like a data backed reason behind it. And lastly, the tool set is all about leveraging the latest technologies, using, let's say, something like AI or the APIs of respective digital platforms, or just trying to automate as much as possible so that you could save on manual labor and get results faster. And that's how we classify things as skill set, mindset, and tool set. And whenever so imagine someone is extremely good with their skill sets, but if they're still not competent enough to have that mindset and tool set has their core you know I mean, if they lack those, I mean, having skills is good, of course, but when you try to apply these skills, you need the tools and the right mindset to do that. And that's why we say that to make it more holistic, that growth set is something that we put together. I think that's a good roadmap to have. That if you want, in my book, maybe we could link it somewhere in the description. If someone wants to have like a clear list of all the skills, all the tools, and the mindset to have, they could just go over the checklist essentially. So it's upon you how you want to learn things, but to know that there is no specific I mean, there's no industry really governing this. So you could be an exceptional content writer, you could be an exceptional social media manager, or you could be an SEO person or a content marketer. So you could actually also take these small subsets of these skill sets and be and specialize into those. Or you could become something like a growth marketer who is quite a generalist and try as has an understanding of everything. So yeah, the industry is actually divided into the specialized forces and the generalized executives. So it's upon ultimately upon us to decide which side we want to be.
Completely understanding that how skills, mind, and tools can all together perform a very big role when it comes to this unconventional field. To all the kids who are listening us right now, let me tell you that we are going to address all your question and answers in the end of the session. So please hold your patience while we can ask him all and everything that we can. Now, in layman terms, trust me, I mean, automation and things like this are not so usual for any normal human being to understand. And now, when I say about these different questions that we have right now in our mind, typically, if let's say we are assuming that we are a 13 or 14 or 15, 16-year-old kid who's having absolutely no idea about this field, what particularly can you say that what kind of a child should opt for it?
I think, like I said, it really has no industrial regulation where who qualifies you that you are a digital marketer. So at the end, everyone uh, ends up being self-proclaimed ones. But then you could have some form of certifications where you could show that okay, you took these courses and you're certified. To give you some examples, Google has something called Google Digital Garage, where they give you a short course on digital marketing, and they share all the fundamentals of digital marketing, and you could take that, and they will certify you at the end. Similarly, there are other places like Ahref, Semrush. They have blogging for business, keyword research. So every company would have their own free courses to educate their audiences. But at the end, it's not about relying or taking courses from one place, but rather trying to consume as much as possible. Because like I said, you have to stay curious, and things change here overnight. Another thing to look at is that you could start with something of your own. So let's say, for example, like I was sharing with you, I started with my own blog. I drove traffic to my own website. I learned SEO and social media marketing, content marketing through experimenting on my own products. I created my own software products as well when I was in college, and tried to sell it. So I went from the product creation phase to marketing to sales, and ultimately also selling it off. So what I'm trying to share is that first you learn by experimenting on your own products and services, on or blogs, and then you could show that as a portfolio that, okay, this is the result that I've achieved for myself, and the same I could do for you. I see a lot of young people on, let's say, TikTok, when it was there in our country, or even Instagram. There are so many young influencers who have an audience, right? And audience building is such a important part of digital marketing. As a company, we know that every company is running after having a large audience, and these really young influencers are having like huge following on social media, and they could leverage that following into their own businesses, right? um, that's what digital marketing is. They are actually doing digital marketing, but they are unaware, right? They're already good community managers, they are community builders, they have a dedicated following, they are putting out content regularly, they are content creators. It's just that, they must be not aware, right? So they're already marketing, they just need to have a product or service to market. That's number one. Number two is, uh, like I said, everyone is a self-proclaimed digital marketer or growth hacker. There's no universal certification done, but how you could show your authority is by building your own products and growing that. Or you could work with someone as an intern, or you could work with someone, maybe do spec work. By spec work, I mean that just try to work with someone for free, and once you learn from them or learn through the process, you could tell them that, hey, I would love to do this full time, part time, whatever. Secondly, like I've written books, whatever I was learning, to establish your authority. You could, uh, like I said, you could have your own social media profiles where you're sharing things, or you could write your own books. Even something simple has, ability to create, like I was sharing, communities and social media, building a social media following is so valuable that you can actually get hired by companies to do the exact same process for them, and then that could be a beginning of your digital marketing journey. So be it whatever, whether you're a content creator, whether you're a social media marketer, or you're good with playing with the tools, uh, you could start anywhere. Start with one specialized area, and then try to learn the other areas, and eventually you will become a generalist.
Thank you so much for first and foremost, like putting it across so simple and easy way that it's almost like, I guess, the game of snakes and ladders. You just craft your own path there. You play the dice, and if it is in your luck, you go ahead. Some things might work, some things might not. You might have a snake up there sitting right there in front of you, and it's all on you how you dodge that and take your journey ahead. Now, with that, we move forward to the next question to you, Rohan. When we say that, as you've just clearly mentioned, that there's no perfect age for it, the sooner the better. And then the people who should opt for it, the kind of mindset that they should have, the skill set, the tool set. Having said that, are there any stages, like we say, a beginner or an expert? So how do you reach that field, like that stages, the levels?
So, like I said, you start somewhere in one specialized area. So it could be, you're a social media manager, you're good with paid ads, or you're a content creator, or you're an email marketer, or you're a community builder, whoever you are. You start there and then slowly branch out at other places and eventually become a generalist. Talking about a growth team, what happens in startups usually is that when a startup is implementing growth hacking, they usually call the teams as growth teams. And generally, in growth teams, the titles look like a growth manager, who is essentially like managing the entire experiments that are running, and he's the guiding force for the entire team. So you could think of him as like the topmost position. And the second, like just below that hierarchy, would be project managers. So project managers are managers with specialized skill sets to run specific experiments given to them. The third would be a creative person or a design person, someone who designs websites or the social media graphics or the UI UX of the apps and the website, be it any digital product. The fourth would be a technical person or a developer. So imagine you want to make some integrations with APIs of certain platforms, or you want to code a specific script to run a specific growth experiment, or simply just develop, a product, or and add a additional feature to the product. So that will be the developers team. Lastly, you would have the sales team, where project manager is running growth experiments to get the leads, and the salesperson is actually more like an account manager or person who is closing those leads. So there's marketing and sales working together. So you essentially have to climb your way to become growth manager when you really understand everything, and you sort of have like a broad understanding of everything. That's where you reach that growth manager level. So yeah, if that gives an idea of what essentially um, the hierarchy or the ladder would look like.
Absolutely. It's like I teach business studies as well, and we have these all levels top, middle, lower, and the corporate jargons that we often use are very simple actually. But then going through that entire level set, we all sometimes feel intimidated by that. Now, the most audience loved question. I mean, like while you were just having a word with the kids, across all three streams, there was just one particular question that I could see the most highlighted one, and that is, of course, the investment that you need to put in. And the second one, the most important one here is how much can you earn? So that's something like every kid here would want to know, and especially their parents too would want to know that if they're giving their time to something, they have to know कि इसमें scope क्या है, and when the word scope means to all the normal Indian public, it is how much can you earn. So please address on that.
I think so. Like I shared, my reasons of getting started was not because I wanted to make money, but it eventually ended up being or going being the career path for me, right? But I understand not everyone would just get curious one day and end up making it a career. If someone is intentionally coming into this field, what I would say is just one thing: the more seen, known, and recognized you are, the more opportunities you get. What I mean by that is the more popular you are in the fields of digital marketing, growth hacking, the more people know you, the more startups know you, the more offers you get. So this is something that I've been advocating for long, that instead of you should be in a position where people chase you rather than you chasing them. And that happens when you put out your work in public, when you start sharing your case studies in public. The companies that I work with have all their recommendations, let's say, on my LinkedIn profile, and I have done so many videos with really good companies, and I've been sharing my knowledge. Just sharing an expertise ends up, maybe you never know who is watching what video, and then someone would approach you. Same is with my books. I would have companies call me and say that they read my book and found my number there, and that's how they contacted. So number one thing is that if you really want to know the scope of the um, career path in digital marketing growth hacking is, you must ask yourself that how far you're willing to go marketing your own self. So even before you start marketing your clients or your company's products or services, start to market yourself, and that would define how much money you make. Just to give you an example, or maybe a range, the people who are at the freshers in India, they would usually start with something like 20 or 30K every month, or maybe even low if they're just have no skill sets and they're working as interns. But usually there's no one that would pay less than 20K or 30K per month. And if you are like a really in demand person, your salary can go from anywhere from 30 lakhs to 80 lakhs per year in really good funded startups. So now it's upon you where you want to lie and how much you want to learn. It just that, like I said, I'm just repeating myself. The more known and recognized you are, the more opportunities come your way. So that's something. Just to give you a range, it could be anywhere from 3 lakhs per year to 80 lakhs or even more per year. It depends on what level of hierarchy you are and how many years you have been and what kind of position you hold. Sorry, I can't hear you. Could you please unmute yourself?
I'm sorry. So as I said that it is very natural for you to put this range up there because this is not a conventional field where we can expect a job, a fixed paying job that can just be the usual way you are just sitting in front of your desk and you're doing some numericals and that's done. This is not that kind of a thing. I guess here the personal application of your own art that you know and how you can modify that works a major role. And I guess listening 30 lakhs to 80 lakhs range is already a boost for all the ones who are considering this field. Now, having said that, the one last important thing before we conclude would be that what are the challenges that you've faced? What are the hurdles you've been through? Or something that you have not faced, but someone might just face. So, what are these kind of challenges that we can have in growth hacking and digital marketing as a career?
Right. I think in the last question, I couldn't really justify the payment packages. So just let me take a moment to uh, end up saying, what I was trying to say. So you essentially can work in 3 ways, or maybe 4. Let's count. One is you could be employed by a company. The second is you could be a freelancer. The third is you could be a consultant. The fourth is you could be an agency. And the fifth is you could have your own product. I mean, a startup, an app, web app, anything. Okay, so essentially it turned out to be 5. And depending on who you are, whether you're an employee, whether you're a freelancer, an agency, a consultant, or a founder of a startup, essentially a product, depends how much you're going to make. So sky is truly the limit. So even though I may have said 30 to 80 lakhs, I mean, starting from 3 lakhs, but it could actually go beyond that as well, depending on, which role you take out of these 5. So yeah, just that clarification. Now coming to the challenges the students might face. So let's talk about the pros and cons, right? Talking about the cons, um, uh, I think one is, of course, industry is ever changing. So if you learn something today, it gets outdated tomorrow. So you really have to be on your toes all the time. Second is all the digital channels are eventually going to get saturated. By saturation, I mean that eventually no one will let you advertise on their channels and make you money using their channels. They would want you to pay for it, right? So imagine something like Facebook page. You cannot gain likes and reach on your post if you're not paying for it. Previously used to work, now it doesn't work. So no digital channel is letting you will let you market your businesses anyway unless you pay them. So that's another challenge and con, if you can say that. So you have to be really creative and curious to find ways and bypass all the restrictions and saturations that are about to come, because more and more people come online. I mean, of course, I'm not trying to have that scarcity mindset that if a lot of people come start being digital marketers, it's eventually going to get tough. Maybe it's not, even if the entire world is a digital marketer, there would still be enough for everyone. And lastly, it is that this requires really high amount of self learning. So people who are not unable to learn by themselves or need to rely on institutes and educational institutes, we find it a little bit tough because not every educational institute or uh, who are teaching digital marketing would be always updated with something that was launched just yesterday. So you really have to be good with research and have a mindset of making and breaking things and really trying to understand the core of every digital platform. So these were the cons. The pros is that you could work remotely. So this is a pandemic proof job. No matter how long COVID-19 pandemic goes on, you can work from home. The second is that the pay is really good. Like I said, the more known and recognized you are, the more opportunities come your way. It is possible that maybe more than 10 people are going to ask you to work with them in a single day, and you would keep getting offers, and eventually you'll get tired. So it's more of how better you can position yourself and how much you can make it. Sky's the limit. And lastly, the pro is that you will never run out of job, really, because somewhere in the world there would be some business that would still require digital marketing as the world becomes more digital. So think of it this way. Maybe the times are bad for India and we will recover somehow, and businesses will take back their budgets and not want to hire, or maybe not spend much on marketing or advertising. What you could do is you could simply reach out to businesses in different countries and other parts of the world. So essentially, you're never losing a market. Even if you lose one market, there's another market required the exact same services. So that's why I say that you are never going to run out of a job, really. It's impossible.
So it's like it's just not geographical boundary specific, but you have ample area to develop and grow. And if it's just not one place that's rejecting you, probably you have 100 other places to accept you the way you are and the way your art is towards the entire scenario.
Absolutely.
That's a wonderful knowledge to give our kids here, because many of them are unaware about what it is. As in the very beginning of the session, as I mentioned to you, that with the term hacking, they just connected over there to the legal and illegal hacking, which is absolutely not the case. Wherein in growth hacking, the terminology that we all use is related to the, like, the exploring of growth and how an individual or an organization can go up. And with the same thing, we give 1 minute breath to Rohan. And in the meanwhile, for all our kids to grow, we have a very simple solution out there, and which is absolutely free of cost. Now, when I say that, what that is our Unacademy Combat, which is just 2 days away from you all, wherein we are giving free scholarships to all the students who are participating in the combat and winning their positions. The pool of scholarship is worth 1 crore rupees, and all you guys need to do is enroll in this test, which is going to be conducted on 9th of May. The links are in the description, and as well as they are pinned in the comment box below. Apart from that, we also are hosting the Unacademy Topper Theory for you all guys, wherein all the kids who have learned with us on an academy, and we are trying to craft and narrate to you how they have developed, how they have grown, and how they have crafted their path in their examinations and academics. Because wherein you have to go to any field, your basic primary education has to be getting done. Now, with that, I finally come back to Rohan here, and I would want Rohan you to please emphasize on the point of how kids really should opt for this field.
Yeah, like I said, and I think you gave a good example as well. So, growth hacking is not really like the hacking in that negative connotation that we look at it. It's more of finding creative ways and out of the box ideas to market your startup. That's what we mean when we say growth hacking. Uh, uh, Second question I think you asked is how do they go about really pursuing it, right? So I think there are only okay, I don't know how many, but let's count. One is that try to learn about digital marketing and all the trends as much as possible. Second is if you feel or if you find someone really good that you admire in this field already, or if you know any digital marketers, feel free to reach out to them, ask them questions, uh, and ask them if you could intern with them, or if there's any way you could get trained with them. The third is that be updated with all the news, what's happening, what platform is launching, what features, what advertising options do they have. Third is if fourth is if you do want to have like a curriculum course on digital marketing. There are enough resources. You could just search on Google digital marketing institutes, check everyone's curriculum, see what is more comprehensive, and go with that. And the fifth is that you really have to be curious. I keep saying this time and again, but yeah, really, because nothing is up to date in the field, and no one is really governing, like I said. So you are left on your own, and you have to establish your own space in the niche. So yeah, I think that helps.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for giving in your valuable insights and your pleasure time to all of us here on Unacademy. The entire team is thanking you all, and I am on their behalf representing the entire team here and the kids who have been waiting for this session so eagerly. We are really honored to have you over here, and I would really request all of the kids, if you have any question and anything that Rohan can guide you on, please feel free to reach out to him anytime and anywhere you want to. And his book and his resources are there available for you all. I'll ask the team to put the links in the description as well. And finally, we sign off with this amazing session. Thank you, kids, for being so patient, and Rohan, for you being such an immense and pleasurable person to work with.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I was thrilled to be here.
All right. So, tada, bye bye, kids. And we see you in another next few sessions. And till then, Rohan has really his time really, really limited for us. So, I would bid adieu to him. Thank you, Rohan.